The Rewind
Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town.
Chicago!
And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Everything's up, brother. Everything is up. It's a beautiful day, but it started out as a winter day, then it turned into a summer day, and I'm just wondering what tonight's going to be like. It's great coming off of the NCAA tournament selection show and actually being on a sports show to talk about it. This is what America is all about.
It is certainly what America is all about, and we understand this is the best I like to say the best damn sports show in the city of Chicago. If you don't know, now you know. Start spreading the news like a good old friend, the late Frank Sinatra. Start spreading the news. Ladies and gentlemen, we're certainly going to break down Selection Sunday and the pairings. Unbelievable. I love it. It's exciting. We say the Super Bowl is the biggest sporting event, not only in the Grand US of A, but maybe in the world. But the Super Bowl is definitely the biggest thing. A close second is definitely March Madness and Selection Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, the guru, the man, IHSA, NCAA. Oh, man. That's the one thing I hate about this, ladies and gentlemen. We're still getting used to our digs here. Let me get this. Boom. It was a pause for the one, the only, the marvelous one. Dan Marver, our basketball guru, TRS60 style. Danny, how you doing?
I'm doing great. My eyes are crossed from watching the pairing show and all the high school games. And E.J. Liddell, we'll talk about him. He was great last year.
We certainly get an opportunity not only to talk about Selection Sunday and what just took place about an hour ago as far as the pairings are concerned, but we'll also congratulate the IHSA boys basketball Class 4A, Class 3A champions. Unfortunately, not coming out of the Chicago area, but hey, kudos to the teams that were able to advance all the way, and kudos to the champions as well. We'll certainly get an opportunity to break that down. And ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, he could be on Michigan Avenue. He could be on Milwaukee Avenue. He could be down there on Laramie. He could be over there at the lakefront. He could be at the museum. He could be at Comiskey Park. He could be over there at Wrigley. You never know. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing we do know, he's in the studios of WCPT820AM. He's the man on the street. Marty-B, what's up, Marty?
Well, good afternoon, Jerry, and to my esteemed colleagues here, Kelly and Dan. What an afternoon we have in store, and today I am confined to Milwaukee Avenue and Catalpa.
I've never heard of myself being referred to as an esteemed colleague. I mean, I feel very special. Usually I'm a stupid colleague, but today I'll go with esteem. Go ahead. Give me some esteem love.
Well, he was just referring to the steam that comes out of your ears every time I get you hot and bothered, right?
Every time, bro.
Boom.
Every time.
Boom. Gentlemen, let's get right to it. If you want to join in, please feel free to give us a ring here at WCPT. If I can... I'll get my bearings together. The number here is 773-763-9278. 773-763-WCPT. If you have a comment, if you want to join in on this Selection Sunday, the tournament, the bracket, the NCAA tournament, the games will begin, ladies and gentlemen. Before we move forward, I want to wish each and every one of you out there, and those of you in studio, a very happy St. Patrick's Day.
Indeed.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's weekend. It's been phenomenal here in the great city of Chicago as far as St. Patrick festivities are concerned, whether it's the parade downtown, or whether it's parade on the north side or the south side.
Or the pollution in the Chicago River.
Well, it wasn't pollution. The river, it's a tradition here in Chicago to turn the river green. And I want to say kudos to all of those who had an opportunity to participate, go down and take in the parades and the festivities. Obviously, things seem to go pretty well because I didn't hear about any,
fights.
No fights or no arrest or anything like that. Unfortunately, I did hear that there was a body pulled from the river maybe a couple hours ago. So sorry to hear that. But for all practical purposes, St. Patrick's Day here in the city of Chicago seemed to jump off without a hitch.
Exactly. And Did anyone here not drink this weekend? Not drink. All right. We got 1, 2, 3. Everybody on this side, Jerry. No drinkers.
Me too, guys. I those who know me know I'm not really an alcohol guy, but to those that do, hey, drink responsibly, have fun, and hopefully you had a good St. Patrick's Day weekend.
See, that's what happens. I don't drink responsibly, Gabe Salgado, so I don't try to do it that much anymore. I do other things responsibly.
Well, I can say to you, I didn't drink today yet. as you gentlemen well know, and Gabe Salgado has our scoreboard update at the bottom and the top of the hour. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. Gabe will be jumping in regarding his picks and his ideas and what his thoughts are as far as the tournament is concerned. But normally, and we have to say hello to our good friends at Serenolo's Ristorante Italiano down in Wheeling, a few miles away north on Milwaukee Avenue. Great chef Michael Bonner, Shane, and all the gentlemen over there. Derek McIntyre does a great job, but we want to say hello to those gentlemen and everyone, the entire staff over there. We'll be down there soon working some details out, but we miss being at Serenolo's Ristorante Italiano, especially for the brunch hour.
And the bacon. Miss that bacon.
And you know that, Sundays, during brunch, I got to have the mimosa. I certainly have to have the mimosa. I wanted to have one today, but I said, no, I'm not going to. I'm just going to take care of myself. Because, again, I'm still nursing the wheel. I just told the show prior to us that, he said, who's got a bad wheel? I go, well, I got a bad wheel, but I'm on a donut right now. So I'm using a spare right now, but hopefully we'll be up and running with no time soon. But let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you want to join in, if you want to be a part of what we're doing here, our number is 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278, or 763-WCPT. First off, let's start with you, Kelly Lee Williams.
Yes, sir.
Your thoughts on the selections, on the pairings, on the teams that were able to advance to the field of 68 moving into this 2019 NCAA March Madness tournament?
I see a lot of good teams. I don't see like one really great team. The great team that's supposed to be great is Zion Williamson and the Duke Blue Devils. But they're beatable as well. They have been beaten, and they've been taken to the wire by a couple of pretty good teams. Yeah, they're number 1 overall seed. But I looked at my bracket, I filled it out, and I ended up having Duke, Gonzaga, and Tennessee and North Carolina as my final 4 picks. I like Tennessee coming out of the South because Tennessee gave Auburn all it could handle. At Tennessee and Auburn, those 2 teams you better be watching because they both got pretty powerful front courts, and they got great coaches. Front courts and coaches are usually the keys to winning in these tournaments.
Well, typically, and we're going to take a short time out here because it is the fastest hour in sports conversation. Typically, the teams that ended up advancing deep into the tournament or advancing to the Final Four and, of course, winning it usually have very good guard play and a very good interior post position. But, of course, the third element is the coaching. And we know what Tom Izzo does with Michigan State. We know what Mike Krzyzewski does with Duke, and of course Roy Williams with North Carolina. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds, what transpires in this tournament. We're going to take a short time out. We come back, we're going to get an opportunity to talk with Gabe Salgado and pick his brain before his scoreboard update, and of course Marty-B, the man on the street, and the marvelous one, Dan Marvelous Marver. Keep it locked in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Rewind Sports 60 broadcasting from WCPT 820 AM, streaming live on Facebook, and of course check us out on YouTube as well. Join us. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation here in Chicago. This is the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM, Chicago.
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
This
portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn. They are friends of the program. From beers to spirits and champagne, the Liquor Barn is your libation destination for parties, banquets, weddings, and more. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the annual Wine Fest this fall. The Liquor Barn is located on the corner of Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling, 287 East Dundee Road, and their Niles location is 8170 West Golf Road. Feel free to drop by and say hello, and always remember to drink responsibly.
Right now, Doctors Without Borders medical teams are operating in some of the most remote and dangerous corners of the world. When front yards become front lines, when disaster erupts, when disease rages, when communities collapse under crisis, at the crossroads of conflict and epidemic, where there are no hospitals, that's where we operate. We go where conditions are the worst because that's where we're needed most. In nearly 70 countries, we're saving lives threatened by violence, disease, malnutrition, and catastrophic events. Donors are vital to our mission. Your response is critical to our response in places where few others will go. That's where we operate. Learn more at doctorswithoutborders.org.
Hi, this is Liz Nicholson Sullivan, the wife of former NFL player Jerry Sullivan. I am asking you to support House Bill number 4341, the Dave Duerson Act to prevent CTE, which bans tackle football for Illinois children under 12. CTE is a brain disease that can be caused by playing football. Its symptoms include dementia, depression, and aggression. Dave Duerson committed suicide when CTE began destroying his life. I am now watching my husband Jerry struggle against CTE. The best way to prevent this disease is to stop hitting kids in the head. Tackle football exposes young children with developing brains to hundreds of head hits each year. Show your support for House Bill 4341 or hashtag Duerson Act. Together, we can save football players from CTE. And please go to concussionlegacy.com for more information. Thank you.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Lock it in for sure. Welcome back, WCPT820AM. The Rewind Sports 60, the fastest hour in sports conversation on your Sunday. Strap it in and lock it down and join us. Give us a ring, 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. You guys are just jumping in, girls just jumping into your cars, turning on the radio, turning on computers, listening to us on your smartphone. We're just going through the brackets as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned, and I'm excited. As always, we had an opportunity to listen to Kelly Lee Williams prior to the break. Want to bring in our scoreboard update, Gabe Salgado, and pick his brain as far as what he thought about the overall selection for this upcoming March Madness tournament. Gabe?
You know, I'll tell you what, during these last couple of weeks of conference tournaments, we've seen a lot of these teams just kind of come out and stand out head and shoulders above the rest. So really, there aren't any surprises to me. I'm sure you're going to have some teams who thought they were snubbed, but I think that for once, everybody that was selected this year deserved to be it, especially during these last couple of weeks of the season. Some of these teams really just picked up steam and showed what they were made of.
You know what? I certainly agree with you. And everybody, it's always tough and it's always controversial because there are always some teams, some schools that feel that they got snubbed or they had a tougher schedule or they played a better game than some of the other selections that were, chosen. But it's very, very difficult, and hence that's why the tournament increases, over the past years or so, because there's so much stiff competition out there, and you don't want to slight any teams, and you don't want to slight any coaching staffs and student athletes. But there's only so many teams that you can select, Marvelous Marver.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that the ACC got 3 number 1 seeds, Virginia, North Carolina, and Duke. Mm-hmm. Gonzaga was the other one. And, the Big Ten, which I didn't think it had one of its best years. Got 8 teams in, the most of any conference. 8 teams.
Well, it's interesting that you say that you didn't think that the Big Ten had that exciting of a season, but everyone around the country, for the most part, Marvelous, they said that the Big Ten conference was the toughest conference throughout the United States, throughout America. So for them to get 8 teams selected, to me, it's not that surprising. You, Kelly Lee?
Absolutely surprising. I mean, we never really talked about the Big Ten. There was really never really any talk about strength in Big Ten teams except Michigan State. I mean, we always talk about Michigan State every year. Tom Izzo always carries a team in there every year. Team's always strong, always sound. But we don't really talk about the rest of the Big Ten. This year, 8 teams, that's great. But let's lament the fact that Illinois doesn't have any of those teams.
Well, Illinois doesn't, No. It is what it is. It is what it is.
We had great teams. DePaul, Loyola.
But we're talking about now, right now. We're talking about the present.
Yes, but we need to learn. We need to look Illinois. Illinois, pick it up.
Gabe, your thoughts on 8 teams coming out of the Big Ten Conference?
I definitely think you could make the case for certainly 5 or 6 of those teams. 8 might be a little bit of a stretch. But again, the last week of the Big Ten's regular season and then, of course, the conference tournament, like I said, really brought a lot out of some of these teams that, pulled off some surprises and really just showed what they were made of. And obviously the committee was impressed with what they brought to the table to bring them in. So, it's good to see, the Big Ten get, a lot of teams. Obviously, that's more than half the conference. But you take a look at the last few years, how the Big Ten's kind of been down, not as many teams getting into the tournament, so it's good to see the Big Ten pick it up here.
Well, here's the deal. A lot of the pundits believe, and even Clark Kellogg with CBS Sports, he mentioned during the latter part of the Big Ten regular season that he thought for sure that the conference would land 6 teams in the Big Dance. He said what he was suspect about were the 7th and the 8th teams, that, of course, being Ohio State and Indiana, battling for that 7 slot and possibly 8 slot, depending on what the committee thought and depending on what the outcome and the other major conferences were concerned. And so the Big Ten tournament, I think the Big Ten tournament helped as well. Now keep in mind, Wesson, the big boy for Ohio State, had missed 3 games during the regular season. He was brought back during the Big Ten tournament. And I think that elevated, of course, Ohio State gets the first win in that tournament at the United Center. But I think that elevated Ohio State to get to the 7th seed. Indiana played fairly well also. So in the eyes of the committee, they probably say, hey, again, this is the toughest conference in the country. They deserve to have 6 teams in the Big Dance.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Iowa actually was the 6th seed, and Maryland 5 in the conference tournament. Minnesota improved their lot by advancing, obviously, getting in that upset win over Purdue. So Ohio State won that 8-9 game against Indiana. That was probably a definite deal breaker to get them in. Yeah.
Because you have to understand, if you took a closer look at the Big Ten Conference, most of those guys doing non-conference plays, most of those schools, those teams doing non-conference play, got out of the blocks pretty well. Ohio State got out with a 12-2 record. I think Indiana got off to a great start. Most of the teams got off to a great start. It's when they got into conference play, when they started beating each other up, and they took on their losing skid, their losing streak. Now, the teams that we heard about the Big Ten, Michigan, of course, and Michigan State. And then toward the middle part and the latter part of the regular season, Purdue started to get some rumblings. And I was kind of surprised with that as well. But all in all, I commend the Big Ten and the coaching staff and the players for doing an excellent job of playing great conference basketball, beating each other up, and preparing themselves for the big dance. And then hopefully, with 8 teams in, the ACC and SEC with 7 teams in this tourney. Hopefully the Big Ten can have some good representation when you talk about the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and, of course, the Final Four. And I truly believe that he's been there all the time. I think it's the 17th time that Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans have been there. So you can believe that team's going to be prime and ready to go deep into this tournament.
Got to give it up to Gonzaga as well. Gonzaga, the mid-majors, have stepped it up big time in the last few years. Gonzaga, this is their 3rd number 1 seed.
Exactly.
That's unheard of. Mark Few is doing an excellent job. And St. Mary's right under Gonzaga. They're in the tournament constantly every year as well. And because the mid-majors have stepped it up, that's why you don't see as many, the mid-level conference teams, the ones that are usually like the Indianas, and they're not getting in because mid-majors are stepping up and taking those slots.
Which is good, which is very good. We know over the years, Mark Few and Gonzaga, with the thanks to our good Dick Vitale, who would pumping, saying these guys need to be in the tournament. And finally, Mark Few proved to the world, so to speak, that Gonzaga belongs there, and they've been there for quite some time, Kelly, as you mentioned. They'll be taking on the first four winner between Farley Dickinson and Prairie View A&M. I think this is the second time Prairie View A&M has made it to the dance. So congratulations to those guys. They'll play Thursday out in the West region. So it's going to be interesting to see. Before we take a short time out, Marvelous One, you've been watching the Marquette, I want to say, Warriors, but of course the Marquette Golden Eagles, and they'll be taking on quite a team, the 5th seed in the West. They'll be taking on Murray State. Mm-hmm. What a matchup.
Yeah, that should be great. You know, the thing about Marquette is that it seemed like, you know, with the balance that they have, they were tough to beat. They got a center, they got guards, they got everything. They got the Hausers shooting. They're just tough. And so they hit a little bit of a skid at the end of the year, and Murray State is a pretty good team. So that should be a great matchup in the first round.
I definitely got Murray State winning this one because John Morant is a hard player to guard. And, I mean, obviously this is going to be somewhat of a step up in competition. You don't have any Marquettes in the Ohio Valley Conference, but, you know, he's just that good. They have him as a top 10 NBA draft pick. I definitely think he could be top 5, and that's going to be a huge game, and I actually have Murray State winning that one.
You know what? I don't slight you from saying that. It's going to be a great game. There's no question about it. But Joe Morant has been playing outstanding basketball, and some people are asking, Gabe, do they go to the wayside? Is he carrying them all the way deep into this tournament? It depends on his play.
You know, I have them definitely winning this Marquette game. After that, it's going to be hard because the most likely they'll probably wind up playing Florida State, and we all know how good Florida State is. They kept pace with Duke for most of last night in the ACC championship. So if they draw Florida State, probably not. But if Vermont can pull off the upset, then I think Murray State will have a better chance if they get past Marquette. But if they wind up getting Florida State, which I have them doing, I got Florida State winning that one.
Marvelous one.
You know, Gabe, if Marcus Howard scores 30, boom, he's like unbelievable. So if he goes off, it could make a difference.
But he struggled in his last game, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, but that's uncharacteristic of his play for sure.
Correct. We'll just have to see. That's where they play the games. Thanks for waking me.
Well, it is interesting. And did you mention before the show, you never know what's going to happen, especially in a tournament like this when you got a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids. You just simply don't know.
Right.
And again,
not one team, the Nevada team. Their average age is 23 and a half years old. 23 and a half.
What is that, an NBA G League?
I know, right? I don't know what the heck. What's going on there?
I can understand with Brigham Young, maybe, if they went and came back out of the Mormon,
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
Unbelievable.
I'm going to go try out next year.
Oh, my God. Real quick, can we get a prediction, or should we just wait till the end of the show as far as Final Fours? We'll wait till the end of the show as far as Final Four predictions are concerned, but congratulations to all the teams who were able to advance in this tourney, in this dance, and I'm excited. I can't wait for the things to unfold here. The first games are Tuesday and Wednesday, or Monday and Tuesday?
It just snuck up on us, didn't it? It's just
Tuesday. The first four in Dayton.
Yeah.
First four in Dayton, that's March 19th, and of course Wednesday, March 20th, the tournament kicks off, and then it officially really kicks off on Thursday the 21st and Friday, first round game. So it's exciting, and the next 3 weeks, oh my goodness.
KSU, Kansas State, number 4 seed, just like Kansas.
Man.
Digging it this year.
Digging it. I got to make sure I can get this squared away. Gabe Salgado coming up with a TRS60 scoreboard update. Keep it locked in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Rewind Sports 60. Jerry Riles, Kelly Lee Williams, the Marvelous One, Dan Marver, and, of course, the man on the street, Kelly Lee Williams. Marty-B, the man on the street. Well, Kelly, you do hang out on the street sometimes.
Wow.
Marty-B, the man on the street. When we come back from his TR60 scoreboard update and break, we'll talk some high school basketball right here at WCPT820 AM, Chicago. You've got the Rewind Sports 60. Lock it in.
TRS60 Sports Update.
Scoreboard Update is brought to you by the Monster Education Foundation. Today was the last day of college basketball's conference tournaments before the NCAA tournament was selected, and we started at the United Center, where Michigan State overcame a 7-point halftime deficit and would outscore Michigan 42-29 over the final 20 minutes. The end result was the Spartans taking the Big Ten trophy by the final score of 65-60, giving Tom Izzo both the regular season and tournament titles in the same year for the first time since 2012. Loyola is waiting to find out who their NIT opponent will be. After they won the Missouri Valley Conference's regular season championship, they fell early in the MVC tournament early last week. Bradley is the state of Illinois' lone representative in the NCAA tournament this year, and they'll be the 15th seed in the East region, where they draw second-seeded Big Ten champion Michigan State in Des Moines, Iowa on Thursday. Earlier today, Cincinnati defeated Houston to win the American Conference Championship. Auburn dominated Tennessee to win the Southeast Conference Championship. St. Louis gets by St. Bonaventure to take the Atlantic 10 title. Georgia State moves past Texas Arlington 73-64 to grab the Sun Belt crown. And in the basketball version of Harvard versus Yale, the Bulldogs defeat the Crimson 97-85 to win the Ivy League tournament. This update is sponsored by Monster Education Foundation, MEF, empowering the next generation of leaders. Go to monstereducationfoundation.org to learn more. I'm Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 and WCPT820 AM, Chicago.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Illini!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn. They are friends of the program. From beers to spirits and champagne, the Liquor Barn is your libation destination for parties, banquets, weddings, and more. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the annual Wine Fest this fall. The Liquor Barn is located on the corner of Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling, 287 East Dundee Road, and their Niles location is 8170 West Golf Road. Feel free to drop by and say hello, and always remember to drink responsibly.
Just now, another kid dropped out of school. There's one every 20 seconds. If we do nothing, 3.5 million kids won't receive a diploma over the next 4 years. But there is someone who can change that. You. United Way knows that kids who have a caring adult in their life are more likely to make it. So make a pledge. Tutor. Mentor. Volunteer to read with children. And the difference between a dropout and a graduate could be you. Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
They are role models and educators. Their work requires a great deal of time and energy for very little pay. Who are these unsung heroes?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
The simple truth about education-based athletics in Illinois is this. Without a committed team of coaches and administrators, that just wouldn't be possible. School sports, they bring out the best in all of us. This message presented by the Illinois High School Association and the Illinois Athletic Directors Association.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the cast of characters, the A-Team here in the studios of WCPT820 AM, Kelly Lee Williams, the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and, of course, the man on the street, Marty-B, Gabe Salgado with scoreboard update up top and bottom of the hour. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation on your Sunday. We're here every Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, from 6 to 7 p.m. 6 to 7 p.m. Please mark your calendars. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, you can check us out every Wednesday on Comcast Access Live. If you're in the northern suburbs, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Channel 17, Channel 19, and Channel 35. Also, go to our website, therewindsports60.com, therewindsports60.com. You can also check us out on the website of WCPT820 WCPT820.com, WCPT820.com. Check us out, the Rewind Sports 60. We'll be in your living rooms, in your cars, on your computers, on your smartphones, on your tablets, whatever it may be, every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. We want you to be a part of what we're doing here, what we're building here, and what's developing as far as sports here in the city of Chicago. Feel free to ring us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. If you're just joining in, if you're just tuning us in, we just kind of recap Selection Sunday. The teams have been announced, and let the games begin. But we're going to transition to the high school ranks, and unfortunately, well, congratulations to all the schools, all the teams that were able to advance and participate, not only during the regular season, but of course during the sectionals and the super sectionals and semifinals, and of course the championship title games. And kudos to the teams from East St. Louis who were able to win the Class 4A and the Class 3A title games this past weekend. Unfortunately, our Evanston Wildcats came up a little bit short. And, of course, Curry weren't able to advance as well. But they played in the championship game, and they gave it their all. And congratulations to those coaches and, of course, the players. And marvelous, Dan Marver, you had an opportunity to see all the action.
I did.
What were your thoughts?
Well, I saw Tuesday the super sectional. I was at that game. It was an overtime game, a thriller. Evanston beat Stevenson. Stevenson came out and had a 10-point lead at halftime, and then Evanston put up the pressure and scored 14 in a row. It didn't look like they were going to win that game, but they did in overtime, 57-45. And then they went on to the state, and they were able to handle Rockford East in the semifinals in a high-scoring game, 94-82. And I didn't know Belleville West was as good as they are. They actually have college. They look like a college team, maybe even an NBA team. They're 6'7", 6'6", big bodies, strong, muscular, and they were able to defeat Evanston 71-59 in the championship game. And like you mentioned, it was a good day for that St. Louis area because in the 3A, East St. Louis defeated Bogan 68-63 in overtime. So it was a repeat for Belleville West, their second time in a row. And now Liddell goes on to the Ohio State University, and you'll be happy about that.
Of course. But it was a great year. I think it was one of the best tournaments because you had Peoria Manual there, so you had a local team in 3A, and you had the St. Louis teams, and it was spread. When you have the spread across the state like that, it's pretty exciting. The teams that don't ever meet, Belleville West and Evanston, they would never play normally. So it was quite a tournament, and I think it was one of the best ones. And the interesting thing about it is, I like the fact that you stated that the wide array of talent here in the state of Illinois. Now, again, Kelly is not really a big fan of our schools, our colleges losing these very talented athletes. But when you talk about the high school level and the high school ranks, and you see the talent that unfolds in this state, it's phenomenal. And we talked about Mr. Liddell. Again, Ohio State recruit, defending Mr. Basketball of Illinois winner E.J. Liddell had 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists to lead the Maroons 34-4 in their championship title game. So there's a lot of talent, no question about it, here in the state of Illinois, but they seem to escape, they seem to get away.
I know, you lose the kids. I mean, Kansas State's getting Curry's player, Ron Gordon. They won third place, and he's going off to Kansas State. So
K-State?
It's another
That's
one.
my school,
Yeah,
K-State.
That's another one they lost.
Why do you think most of these kids are leaving the programs? We've got some pretty good coaches, and it's unfortunate what's happening with Northwestern and Chris Collins. After making the dance for the first time in school history and then being the bottom feeders of the Big Ten Conference and not even getting an opportunity to advance the NIT tournament, you see what's going on with Illinois. They're doing as much as they can. They have a young team, but they're a young, scrappy team. They're a young fighting team. You talk about the likes of the UIC Flames. That program has been up and down. We look at what Loyola was able to accomplish last year and then see them somewhat fall to the wayside. Why do you think so much talent from the high school ranks aren't staying home, aren't staying put? They're looking other places.
I think you mentioned it last week. I mean, they're looking for the blue chip programs. They think that that's going to be a better opportunity for them to shine and make the NBA, which is a pipe dream in a lot of cases. Everybody thinks they're going to be in the NBA, but that doesn't happen too often, percentage wise.
And the marvelous one is exactly right about that, because that is especially over the last few years, before Loyola started becoming better and before Northwestern finally made the tournament a couple years back. The issue was that, if I stay home, I'm not going to get noticed. I'm not going to get on national TV. I'm not going to, get noticed by NBA scouts. And that's exactly the idea, is they want to get noticed by the NBA. And, just like Mr. Marver said, it doesn't always work out that way. A lot of Chicago players wind up getting G League contracts, if anything, or they end up going off to Europe. But the idea is, hopefully I'll get noticed and get on the big televised games every week, and hopefully get to the NBA.
Yeah, and you look at it now, the only Illinois player, Jalen Brunson's, I think, the only current Illinois high school player that's in the NBA.
That's one reason. Another reason is demographic, basically geography. These kids are coming out of high school. They don't want to stay in Chicago. They don't want to stay in this area.
Well, why is that?
Weather. I mean, during the basketball season, it's winter time. And if you go down to the South, if you go to the SEC, if you go to the Pac-10, they're not dealing with wintertime during January, February months. They're playing in nice weather. And that's one reason. And also, the Chicago violence. The Chicago violence has hit a high point a couple times in the last few years. And that affects recruiting. That affects young Chicago males wanting to stay local with their teams. They don't want to stay local and have to still.
But they don't have to stay local. And you see what's going on with the University of Illinois. You can go down to the University of Illinois and play for, the fight in the Illini. You get away from the city. You get away from the crime element. That's still a possibility. I understand the weather factor, because that's the myth, so to speak, as far as the NBA is concerned, why these high-priced free agents don't want to come play for the Chicago Bulls. Some people say because of management. Some people say because of the weather. I can play in California. I can play, in Florida. I can play at OKC and
Texas,
or Texas.
No state taxes in Texas.
I think if you want to showcase your talent, and the world that we live in now, it's a global world. If your talents are showcased, look at the kid out of Murray State, Joe Morant. No one knew before this regular college basketball season got underway. No one even knew him. They had no idea who this kid was outside of his teammates, the coaching staff, and his family. This guy has showcased his talent and put it on the national stage, and we're going to see what he really is made of. The point I'm trying to get across is that if you have the talent, if you have the skill, if the coaching staffs are good at these particular universities, they should be able to convince you to stay put and build up this program again. Because you talk about the weather situation. Keep in mind, these guys go to nice, warm environments. The Maui Classic comes to mind, right? They play out in Las Vegas. They play in some pretty warm climate areas. So it's not the fact that they're in the Midwest and it's cold and rainy and windy and all that good stuff. They get a chance at an opportunity to travel to some warm climate areas. So I think it stems from the coaching. I think it stems from the athletic department. I think it stems from the fact that, and I'm not taking any credit away from these institutions, but I think they need to put a little more effort toward trying to lure these kids to stay home.
They need to put a lot more effort into that, a lot more.
I will say this, while Jerry does make a lot of good points, but at the same time, to Kelly's point, you got to remember a lot of these recruits in the Chicago area play at schools in some of these neighborhoods where a lot of this violence is happening. So that's another factor that goes into it as well, just to go to what Kelly was talking about.
No, I think I just don't agree with that. Violence is violence. It happens. I certainly get that. But most of these players, you have to understand, a lot of these players are AAU players. So they're taken out of the element, so to speak. They're somewhat guarded and protected. It's a little bit different from when we came up, okay? When we came up, athletes were protected. They weren't, the gangbangers or whoever, they did not bother these kids. I think it's kind of still the same situation today, but most of these kids are taken out of the element. They are taken out of the elements, one way or the other. And so crime happens, there's no question about it, and crime has always happened in the city of Chicago. But I think it comes to the point where if you're a good recruiter, if you're a good coach, if you have a good institution, and you have the welfare of the student athlete in the best interest, you should be able to lure these kids to come to your school and make a great example for your institution and the direction you want to go in, is my opinion.
Looks like you should be the next athletic director for the University of Illinois, because if you're the man that can do it, get on down there, Jerry.
Get on down there.
Get on down there and make University of Illinois relevant again, boy. You on down there and tell them, give them some knowledge about them schools.
Well, I think Coach Underwood is doing a pretty decent job. He's got some spunky kids. He's got a young He's got a young team.
You said Coach Underwood?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's got a pretty good. They got a pretty good thing going on there, and I can expect. Marvelous, you tell me. I can expect to see something from the University of Illinois in the next couple of years.
I mean, again, they got to recruit. You got to get the players. Even Northwestern, they lost the point guard McIntosh last year, and they couldn't replace him. So it's a big deal if you can't replace the players with the recruiting.
Shout out to Bloom High School, having a great high school season. My alma mater, held to the white and blue. Good job, Bloom Township.
We're a little late. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. When we come back, we'll get an opportunity to hopefully talk with our good friend. You hear him on Saturdays, 4 to 6 p.m. on WCPT820AM. The one, the only, Ricky Hendon. Hopefully. Keep it locked in, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Riles, Kelly Lee Williams, Marty-B, the man on the street, Marvelous One, Dan Marver, and, of course, Gabe Salgado. Updates top and bottom of the hour. This is the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM, Chicago.
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn. They are friends of the program. From beers to spirits and champagne, the Liquor Barn is your libation destination for parties, banquets, weddings, and more. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the annual Wine Fest this fall. The Liquor Barn is located on the corner of Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling, 287 East Dundee Road, and their Niles location is 8170 West Golf Road. Feel free to drop by and say hello, and always remember to drink responsibly.
Just now, another kid dropped out of school. There's one every 20 seconds. If we do nothing, 3.5 million kids won't receive a diploma over the next 4 years. But there is someone who can change that. You. United Way knows that kids who have a caring adult in their life are more likely to make it. So make a pledge. Tutor. Mentor. Volunteer to read with children. And the difference between a dropout and a graduate could be you. Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Liz Nicholson Sullivan. As the wife of a 9-year NFL veteran suffering the long-term effects of untreated and undiagnosed head injuries, I know how dangerous concussions can be. The Concussion Legacy Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to keeping kids safe in sports. Their Team Up, Speak Up program teaches kids to speak up to a coach or athletic trainer if they think their teammate might have a concussion. Whether you're a parent, coach, or athlete, you can make a difference. Join me and sign up at teamupspeakup.org.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by Serenello's Ristorante Italiano. Inspired by his travels and passion for Italy's culture, Executive Chief Michael Bonner has created a broad menu of Italian fare utilizing the freshest ingredients to create the fullest flavors to bring homemade, handcrafted pizzas and pastas, as well as prime steaks and fresh fish dishes to the table. Feel the energy while dining in a casual and rustic setting. Dine at natural, reclaimed wood tables surrounded by inviting darker woods, exposed brick and beams,
hey, who you
subtle
calling dark
feminine
wood?
lighting, and accented with muted chocolates and caramel tones throughout. An impressive 50-foot bar lines an entire wall with seating for all. the perfect place to relax, eat, and drink with your family and friends. Serenello's Ristorante Italiano is located 601 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. Tell them the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop by.
We're telling you to stop by Serenello's Ristorante in Wheeling. Over there on the corner of Milwaukee Avenue and Lake Hook Road.
Manja.
Get on over there and say hello to the chef, Michael Bonner, Shane, the general manager. Get on over there for brunch, 10 to 2 p.m. every Sunday.
For fun-loving waffles, you gotta go see Derek, because Derek's the man. He will give you fun-loving waffles.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, Kelly Lee Williams, of course, the marvelous one, Dan Marver. The man on the street, Marty-B, is in the house, and, of course, Gabe Salgado with scoreboard updates. Bottom and top of the hour in this fastest hour sports conversation. Marty-B, the man on the street. What's the latest, my good friend?
Oh, yes, Jerry. Well, there's a couple of upcoming events that I don't want our listeners to miss. A spring golf clinic is just about time to break out those golf clubs, but I think we all need a little preparation. This coming Saturday and Sunday at the Glenview Library, a marvelous golf instructor, Mr. Michael Stone, who is affiliated with the Glenview Park Golf Club, is going to show off on the links this spring with some new skills learned at this clinic. We're going to get into chipping and pitching on Saturday afternoon from 2 to 3, and then on Sunday afternoon, the big difference between an occasional par and a double bogey, putting skills.
I certainly need that, that's for sure. Once I get my wheel okay, the left ankle okay, I need to get out there and work on my chipping and especially my putting, that's for sure.
Me as well, Jerry. I've never known a dedicated golfer to be turned away, but you might want to contact the Glenview Library just to let them know you're interested in coming. Secondly, another activity this coming weekend that I'm going to be torn between, because I don't know if I should be. I need a helicopter. I don't know if I should be at the golf clinic, which I desperately need, or should I be at the Northbrook Library? What's with Chicago, the quirks, personality, and charm of the Windy City? Ellen Schubert, who wrote a very interesting book, What's with Chicago, is going to offer a very entertaining look at the Windy City, and then going to put our knowledge to some trivia questions. Bring your notebook and your pencil, because you're going to want to take some notes. What a great way to entertain at a cocktail party.
You know what? I love it. Cocktails is always on my side of this.
Oh, I know they are, sure. Jerry. I know they are.
Hey, Marty, we're going to have to cut you short. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation. You got one more real quick?
Yes. Let me leave you with a brief thought to ponder during the coming week. The happiest people don't always have the best of everything. They just simply make the best of everything. Have a blessed week.
You're the best. Marty-B, the man on the street. Before we say goodbye, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go out to our TRS60 phone line, our hotline, and welcome Ricky Hendon, the host of the Ricky Hendon Show, right here on WCPT820 AM from 4 to 6 p.m. on Saturdays. Mr. Hendon, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be a part of a winning team such as CPT, of course, with you leading the way. And of course, Monday through Friday, 2 to 5 p.m. with Joan Esposito and, of course, Dick Kay holding down the fort. So thank you so very much, and we appreciate being a part of the family. I wanted to get you on real quick. You got a fiery program, and you inspire a lot of people in the Chicagoland area. And April 2nd, it's a big day here in Chicago as far as the mayoral race is concerned. And we wanted to get you on to pick your brain as far as the two candidates are concerned. What are your thoughts between Lori Lightfoot and Tony Preckwinkle? Not only two African-American women going forward, but, hey, making history here in the city of Chicago. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was hoping we could talk Cubs, White Sox.
Oh, we can do that too, man. You're always open to do what you want.
I consider myself a sports expert, especially since I have FanDuel's check in my hand right here from the money I won 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, the sports betting is coming nationwide, and I try sometimes on my show to give people a little edge of what I think might happen, and sometimes I end up okay. You know, my son, little Ricky, taught me how to do it, and he can't win at all.
Well, it seems like you got to help him out.
Later.
Yeah.
On the election, it's going to be much closer than people think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lightfoot campaign is making a key error in not concentrating in the African-American community. I think that's a mistake. I believe that anytime you have 82% of people who stayed home and that the black turnout was only 18%, so 82% didn't vote for anybody, then there's room for growth in that community. And I've seen Tony Preckwinkle's campaign aggressively, and I'm not part of either one, but aggressively knocking on doors and trying to get the black vote out. I think the Lightfoot campaign has made a decision to win the election up north and with the Latino community.
Yes. Speaking of that 18%, what do we do about that? Because this has been a problem for years now. I mean, we have no. Maybe you and I, being African American and talk show hosts, would be brave enough to have a retreat, a little seminar, or something on the radio to discuss it with some people. I call it the post-Obama era. And in this post-Obama era, black turnout has gone from 95% at its height. That's when Barack ran for president. I wrote about it in my book. And now it's 18%. So if we as progressives, regardless of race, but especially those of us who are black progressives, don't want to look at why black people stopped voting, we're doing our forefathers a disservice. Dr. King and all those who, the white people, the Catholic priests who marched and fought for our right to vote, we'll be doing them a disservice not to look at why in the hometown of America's first black president, turnout has gone to next to nothing. And you name the date, Ricky. I'll be there with you. We will talk about it. We can talk about it every single day until.
Well, you know we're gonna get criticized a lot. You know you're gonna get beat up. You can't say anything about Barack, especially black folks. That has changed a lot. I'm sure you know.
I'm a comedian. I'm used to criticism.
Hey, Ricky.
You know, I'm just saying because I said it on my show yesterday. You know, I got some calls going. Look, he did some great things, but I am not going to ignore that we're at an 18% black turnout.
Indeed.
I'm not going to ignore the fact that now you have candidates saying they don't need the black vote.
Hey, you know what,
I'm
Ricky?
not talking about Lori Lightfoot. Dick Durbin said the same thing 2 years ago.
We'll talk more.
Me with some black folks.
Ricky, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation. We'll talk more. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. We'll talk to you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Ricky Hendon, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. There you go. On behalf of Kelly Lee Williams, Marty-B, the man on the street, the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and, of course, our producer, Dennis, holding down. This is Jerry Riles, the Rewind Sports 60, a TR60 scoreboard update. Have a great rest of your day, great week, and we'll see you again on Sunday. Take it away, Gabe.
TRS60 Sports Update.
And this scoreboard update is sponsored by Monster Education Foundation. The Bulls are still hanging out on the West Coast. Tonight they're in Sacramento. Well, right now the Kings are having their way with them, 106-75 in the fourth quarter. After defeating the Montreal Canadiens 2-0 in Quebec last night, the Blackhawks are now just 4 points out of the final wild card spot in the Western Conference. They return home to the United Center tomorrow to host Vancouver and resume their playoff push. It was a rough day in Cactus League baseball for both Chicago teams. The Cubs lost to the Colorado Rockies 7-2, while the White Sox fell to the Arizona Diamondbacks 7-3 despite getting 6 innings from Carlos Rodon. The Bears made a handful of moves during the first week of NFL free agency by adding safety HaHa Clinton-Dix, running back Mike Davis, and cornerback Buster Skrine. And the Bears hope to make more moves this coming week. And finally, the Fire lost 4-2 to the Seattle Sounders at home yesterday, while the Wolves hit the San Antonio Rampage packing from the Allstate Arena with a 6-2 win last night. And, of course, the NCAA tournament this week as well. This update is sponsored by Monster Education Foundation. For more, go to monstereducationfoundation.org. I'm Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 and WCPT820 Chicago.